Hi, Timothy Unkert from unkertmedia.com here. In this video, I want to talk about Ruby Lambda functions, Ruby Procs, and if time allows, also Ruby modules. So let's get started. This is part of my Mega Ruby tutorial. You'll see the file naming structure I've been using to this point. So we're up to file number 26. Again, I have some A, B's, so it's a little bit after the 26th file, but that's okay. I'm going to name this 026 underscore lambda underscore functions. And again, you have to add the .rb at the end. Okay, and we'll close out the project view here. So lambda functions are basically anonymous functions in Ruby. So lambda functions are anonymous functions in Ruby. And Python, really. Okay, so let's show you how you create a lambda function. So I'm going to create a lambda function that squares a number. So I'm going to call this square underscore num. And we use this keyword lambda. And then within curly braces, well, we'll have what variable we want to take in and be affected. So I'm going to put that in pipes, and I'm going to call that num. And then after that, what we want to return, so it's going to be num times num, okay? Likewise, you could also create a function that cubes numbers. So I'll do cube underscore num. That's going to equal lambda, and then within curly braces, and again, within pipes, we'll do the variable that wants to be affected, and we'll return that variable raised to the third power. So I'm using that double asterisk. Okay, so the cool thing about lambda functions is you can pass a lambda into another function. Okay, so we can pass a lambda function into another function. So for instance, let's create another function. We'll call this apply lambi, silly name. And we'll take in some lambda function, we'll call that lambi, and also take in a number, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll print out puts lambi, we'll use this dot call, and then the number, okay? Okay, so let me demonstrate how we would use this. So I'm gonna type out this function, apply lambi, I'm calling it. We're passing in a lambda function, so we're passing in square num, and we're going to pass in the number 16. And what is this going to do? Well, this is going to basically square 16 and then print it out, okay? So let's open up the terminal. Move this down, we don't need it that big. So we'll open up the terminal. Remember, we're going to square 16. So we'll do, to run this, we'll do Ruby 026. I'm going to hit tab to autocomplete the file name, hit enter. And there we get 256, which is 16 squared. Okay. Likewise, we can do this with the cube function. We'll do apply lambi, silly function name, but whatever. Cube num, and then let's cube 8. That should give me 512. Let's open up the terminal, do the up arrow to get my previous command, hit enter, and we get 512, which is 8 cubed. So that's a little bit about using lambda functions in Ruby. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is procs. Okay. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to open up my project here, and let's create a new file. We're going to call this 027 underscore procs.rb, I think is what I named it. Yep. Hit enter. Let's close back the project view. And so let's talk about what a proc is. I'm going to make some comments here. So a proc object is and let's capitalize it. A proc is an encapsulation of a block of code. Oops, what's going on? Block of code I don't know why it does that, which can be stored in a local variable. Okay, passed to a method or another proc and can be called. Okay. This might be called closures. Closures in other languages. So maybe you'll hear that keyword on an interview or something like that. All right, so let's talk about cubing a number with a proc. So cubing a number. So I'm going to say this variable cube, and then we'll use this keyword proc.new. We'll do some curly braces here. I don't know why this just keeps fading out. It's kind of annoying. And then we'll just call the variable x that we want affected. And what we're going to do is x and do the double asterisk. So x to the third power. You'll see the syntax is very similar with the lambda function. Okay. So now what we can do is we can do puts cube.call. And we can pass in a number. Let's pass in 3. So we're going to cube 3. Okay. So if we cube 3, let's now open up a terminal here. Let's do Ruby 027, hit tab to autocomplete, hit enter, and we get 3 cubed, which is 27. Okay. We can also use procs for incrementing and decrementing and multiplying. So I'm going to create an incrementer function. So let's create an incrementer function, so it increases. So I'm going to do def to define this incrementer function. So incrementor, take in some value, okay? And then we're going to say proc new, and again, we'll just call the variable x, and we'll say x plus the value, okay? So now what I can do is create some other functions based off of this incrementer function. So I can say something like increase by 3 equals incrementer, and we'll pass in the value 3. And then I'm just going to duplicate this line here. Oops, duplicate the line. And we'll say increment by 5. I'll pass in 5 here. And now let's do puts increase by 3 dot call 10, and then puts increase by 5 dot call also 10. Okay. And so now let's open up a terminal and see what happens. Okay. So we'll use the up arrow here, hit enter, and we see we get 13 and 15. So remember, we cubed 3, that was 27. Then we took 10 and we increased by 3. Okay, and then we took 10 and we increased by 5. So we're using that incrementer function. Okay, let's also go up here and create a multiplier function. So I'm going to define a function. We'll call it multiplier, take in a value. Okay, and we're going to say proc.new, and then within curly braces, again, we'll just call this x. This time we'll take x and we'll multiply it by the value. Okay, so x times value. X times val. Okay, so we'll create a function, let's call it multiply by 10, and that'll be the multiplier, and we'll pass in the value 10. And then we'll do divide by 10. This is interesting how we're going to do this. And we'll call the multiplier, no, not that one, the multiplier function, but we'll pass in 0.1, which is the same as dividing by 10, multiplying by 0.1. Okay, so now let's output some stuff. So let's print it out. We'll do multiply by 10, and we'll take 2 and multiply it by 10. And then we'll do puts divide by 10, and we'll take 300 and divide it by 10. Okay, let's open up the terminal. Let's clear it out and rerun this program. And we got an error. Did I mean multiplier? So where is this error? This is line 28. Let's see. Oh, we forgot dot call. We got to use the dot call. So we got to do dot call here and dot call here. Okay, so now let's try this again. Cool, and raise this up, and look at that. So multiply 2 by 10, we get 20. Multiply 300, or basically divide 300 by 10, we get 10, okay, because we're multiplying by the 0.1, which is the same thing as dividing by 10. Okay, we take a look and see, should we do modules and finish up this Ruby tutorial? Yes, because the modules file I have is pretty short, so we're going to keep with that. I'm going to open up my project view. This will be the last lesson in my Ruby Mega tutorial. We're going to create a new file. It's going to be 028 underscore modules.rb. Okay, and we'll close out the side here. Okay, so we're going to create our own module here. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to create another Ruby file to make this work. So actually, I'm going to reopen my project view, and we're not going to name this file, but we're not going to name it with the number convention, but I'm going to call this just 1 underscore step.rb. Okay, and we'll close out this and we'll create this file. So modules are a good way to organize methods. So let's make a note of that. Modules are a good way to organize methods. So I'm going to create a module. I'm going to use capitalize each word. So 1 step, and I'll create a function. It's going to call it create problem. And I'm going to pass in a num1 and a num2. And we'll create some problem. We'll say x plus, and then we'll do num underscore 1, change it to a string, plus, and then we'll say equals, and then we'll do num2, so num underscore 2 to string. Okay, so we're creating a problem, a math problem. We'll also have a create solution, so I'll say def to define the create solution method, and we'll also take in num1, a number 1 and a number 2, so 2 numbers, and we'll say that a variable difference equals num2 minus num1, and then we'll return x equals plus the difference, and make sure that's a string. Okay, so we've created this module 1 step. Okay, and let's go here, go back to my modules, and okay, so now let's go back to opening up this file, go to this one, and I'm going to go at the top. I am going to require relative, and I'm going to do 1 step.rb. So I'm going to require that file, and I'm going to include 1 step. Notice my IDE is picking up that module that I just created. So I'll say problem 1, create a local variable, equals 1 step dot create problem. We'll give it 2 numbers, so 5 and 3, and then we'll say solution underscore 1. It's another local variable, is 1 step dot create solution. Pass in the same numbers, 5 and 3. And now what we'll do is we'll print out both. So we'll print out problem 1, and we'll print out the solution 1. Okay. All right, so let's open up the terminal, and we'll run, well, actually, let's clear it. We'll run 028, hit a tab to autocomplete, and we'll see that the problem. We got a problem here. X plus 5. I did this because I'm a math teacher. I couldn't help myself. X plus 5 equals 3. So therefore, that's the problem. The solution is x equals -2. And this demonstrates how we would require a module in Ruby. I hope you found this mega tutorial on Ruby helpful. If you did, could you please give it a like and give this individual part of it a like, as it really does help the channel grow. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing for more tutorials like this. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.